Before we get very far into our next story, we do have a warning for you tonight. What you're about to see and hear may not be suitable for children. Tonight, take a walk in their world.
Transpicuous News, connecting the dots between the lines.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Transpicuous News. Got a little bit of a special report. A topic I've talked about quite a few times in the past. Now, I always talk about distraction, and I always talk about how we got to watch what the distractions are. Now, one of the templates of distraction is when we see old stories continuously coming back, and they kind of come in waves, and it's kind of interesting to watch. So when I see an old story, now I'm not talking about, it's September and everyone's doing 9/11 stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. That's kind of it's got a genre all to itself. I'm talking about, for example, when all of a sudden you get a whole bunch of articles come out about Princess Diana's murder, and it goes viral across social media, and everyone's sharing all these articles with Princess Diana, or articles about an event that happened, JFK, or there was this thing over here that happened, Columbine, something like this. When we see, and all of a sudden you have a good example was the Boston bombing, Boston Marathon bombing, false flag attack, in Sandy Hook, how they just keep coming back. And when they come back, they always come back with a big splash where there's like a new evidence, but when you really look at it, there's not really any new evidence, but it's a distraction. Keep the alternative media focused on certain things. And there's certain topics they know that they can just pull out, and everyone goes, oh yes, I gotta put that on Facebook, I gotta put that out on Twitter. One of the ones that's making the rounds again is a topic I've talked about several times over the last few years. But today I want to address it directly because, again, it's making another big wave, and that is Iceland and the revolution in Iceland. And there's a meme going all over Facebook again right now about, they did it, look, their bankers are in jail, they took back their country, why can't we do it? Everyone, let's all do what Iceland did. Okay, so we're going to run through this, and I'm going to give you a few basic facts because I've been really looking into this Iceland stuff for a long time now, and I really heavily researched, and I went looking for people from Iceland to talk to find out exactly what the fuck happened. So here's the thing. Iceland wasn't a revolution. Iceland was a test. It was a phoenix test of the system. How can we do something can make the entire population believe that they've won and yet have zero changes happen? That's what it was. Iceland was nothing more than a test of how they're going to, or how they're looking at rephoenixing the old system. Now, I'll go back in time a little farther and talk about China. China has a template. By the way, I wrote a whole series of articles on the templates that they used back in August of 2014. I'll put the link below so you can take a look at what I'm talking about, but we're just going to touch on this. China is one of the most famous examples of how you rephoenix a system. China's history is measurable in dynasties. But when you look at the change of dynasties, it always followed the exact same pattern. You had a dynasty, a dynastic family who would be in charge. And they would get decadent, and the people would be so angry, and they would uprise, and there would be revolt, and there'd be a change. There'd be a new dynasty put in place. And for a little while, the people would be like, oh, yay, look, we won, we won. In the meantime, it was still always the exact same people in charge. There was never any changes of dynasty. There might be a cousin who took over, or an uncle, or some other long-lost family member, but it was always the exact same people in charge. As a matter of fact, I think you could say the Chinese kind of perfected that one. So let's look at Iceland. They staged a complete financial collapse. So you get the population up in arms. Now, Iceland's a perfect place to do this because it's small country, isolated, quiet. People don't hear about Iceland in the news very often. So it was a perfect little testing ground. Financial collapse. The people get upset. The people get angry. They start demanding change. So they go in, and you have this whole revolution that took place. Now, I'm not going to go through all the details. I'm sure you guys have all read multiple stories over the last couple of years, especially about how this revolution took place. But here's the thing. None of this was real. Now, most of the people in Iceland think it's real, just like most of the people in America think they live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. It was done very cleverly. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Like I said, I've talked to multiple people from Iceland, multiple very awake people from Iceland, some of whom have tried to get the truth out there and go, guys, that's not the way it happened. It didn't work that way. Number one, they got a new government. Didn't really change much. New people got put into power, but there was no real changes. Number two, they wrote their own constitution. The people of Iceland wrote the constitution. Yes, they did. Except that at no point were the people of Iceland given any transparency about what it was they were writing. So when they had a big vote to change the financial laws of Iceland, that instead of 5% leveraging, which is what they had pre-2008, that they would drop it down to 3% leveraging. And all the people went, oh, hurrah, hurrah, yes, that will save us from financial collapse again. But at no point in time did the government tell the Icelandic people who were voting on this, oh, by the way, that 5% is the same 5% that's in place in America, and look where it got them. No. They didn't tell them that it's leveraged the 5% in Iceland, and then it's taken over to the city of London and leveraged, 30, 40, 60, whatever percent, okay? There was no change to the finance. They went from 3%, 5% leveraging to 3%. That isn't going to do anything to stop another financial collapse. But the people all believe it is because that's what they voted for. We had the power. We voted for this. But they were not given any transparency. There was no explanations as to what they were voting on. No background information. Oh, and I'm talking real background information, the kind of stuff that we discuss. So how can you vote on a constitution and on new laws if you don't have the background information to understand fully what it is that you're voting on and what difference it will or won't make? Okay? Other points. Bankers went to jail. They jailed their bankers. Okay, really? No, that didn't happen. There were, I believe, 5 bankers who went to jail. And the 5 bankers who went to jail were actually kind of your upper middle management guys who were ripping off the big boys. They got caught playing the shenanigans games of the big boys and ripping off the big boys. That's why those 5 bankers went to jail. And what did they get for jail sentences? Measurable in months. Months. For supposedly causing the financial collapse of an entire country. They got months. Okay, so no, their bankers didn't go to jail. And the fact that their central banker right now is an import from I believe it's Goldman Sachs. I can't remember now. It was a couple of years ago when I was looking up this information. But he's another banker. None of the big boys, none of them got charged. None of them even blinked an eye. Why? Because they were in on it. It was a test. There's been no changes in Iceland. Everything they're doing right now is a test within the system, giving all the Icelandic people an internal electronic currency, i.e. I can't remember what they call it though, basically a Bitcoin currency. It is a test of an all electronic currency, i.e. no physical dollars or cents. We've discussed this before. Why would you go to an electronic currency? Because it's just pictures on a window. All it is ones and zeros on a computer screen. No backing, and fully under the control of the people who control the computer screens. It's only a test. So please, people, when you see these stories that just keep coming around, and they kind of, like I say, go in waves, take a moment and look at it rationally and go, why is this coming out now? If there's a big push on this by all these alternative media outlets now, what should I actually be looking at? What are they distracting us from? Because that's the name of the game right now. As I just discussed in Transpicuous News earlier this evening, distract, distract, distract. They need to keep people really fucking distracted right now. Distract, distract, distract. So when you see these stories come up, just keep it in the back of your mind. Why is that coming up now? As for Iceland, it's only a test. And the Icelandic people that I know are screaming and yelling to try and wake up the rest of Iceland to the fact of they didn't win anything. There was no real revolution. And in the end, they're in the exact same place that they were pre-2008. Just a test. So that's my little report on Iceland tonight. Please, people, share this video out. This is something. Go out, go find people in Iceland. Go onto YouTube. There's multiple videos out there by people in Iceland trying to tell the world, no, don't look at us as an example of revolution. It didn't work that way. It didn't work at all. And that's it for me for tonight. I will be back soon, guys. Bye.
Transpicuous News, connecting the dots between the lines.